Welcome everyone to day 1 of the Workplace Fundamentals module. Today, we are focusing on employment, which forms the foundation of everything you will learn in this program. Understanding employment rights and responsibilities is critical, not only for the workplace, but also for your final EISA assessment. By the end of this session, you will understand the legal framework governing employment, employee rights and responsibilities, and the role of organized labor in protecting those rights. Employment is a legal and economic relationship between an employer and an employee. This can take the form of permanent, temporary, fixed-term, learnership, internship, or casual employment. Employment in South Africa is regulated by a strong legislative framework to ensure fair treatment, decent working conditions, and transformation. An employment contract, whether verbal or written, must align with the law and cannot override employee rights guaranteed by legislation. The Basic Conditions of Employment Act, or BCEA, sets out the minimum standards for employment. This includes working hours, overtime, rest periods, leave entitlements, public holidays, and notice periods. It ensures employees are not exploited. For example, employees cannot be forced to work excessive hours without compensation or rest. EISA Prep Q, you must be able to explain what the BCEA covers and why it is important. The Labour Relations Act, or LRA, promotes fair labour practices. It governs the relationship between employers and employees, regulates dismissals, strikes, lockouts, and establishes structures for collective bargaining. This act also created the CCMA, which is the Commission for Conciliation, Mediation, and Arbitration, a key body for dispute resolution. EISA Prep Q. Know the purpose of the LRA and be able to identify where and how it applies in workplace disputes. The Employment Equity Act, EEA, ensures fair treatment and transformation in the workplace. It addresses issues of discrimination, equity targets, and fairness in hiring and promotion practices. The Occupational Health and Safety Act, OHSA, focuses on creating a safe working environment. Employees have the right to refuse unsafe work and must be trained in safety procedures. You must be able to explain how these acts protect employees in real workplace situations. Here's a real example. A learner is forced to work overtime without being paid or offered time off. This is a direct violation of the BCEA. The employee or learner has the right to refuse overtime or to insist on overtime pay. If the employer refuses, the employee can report the matter to the Department of Labor or their trade union representative. In your EISA, you may be given similar scenarios and will be expected to identify the relevant legislation and correct course of action. Employers have a duty to comply with the law. They must provide fair and safe working conditions, pay employees correctly and on time, and respect their rights. They must also ensure compliance with legislation and company policies. Be prepared to explain what employers are legally required to do in various situations. Employees also carry responsibilities. They must arrive on time, follow company procedures, respect co-workers, and act ethically. They must help maintain a safe workplace by following safety rules and reporting risks. This mutual responsibility creates a productive and lawful work environment. Trade unions are organized groups of employees that represent their members in negotiations with employers. Their role is to protect employee rights, negotiate wages and conditions, and ensure fair treatment. Examples of major unions include NUMSA, NEHAWU, and SATU. EISA, Prep Q, you should know what trade unions do and how they engage in collective bargaining. Collective bargaining is a structured process where employers and unions negotiate employment terms. This may involve wages, working conditions, or dispute resolution. The CCMA and bargaining councils provide platforms for mediation, conciliation, and arbitration when disputes arise. This ensures both parties follow due legal process. Every employee has the right to a fair grievance process. Employers must investigate complaints, give employees a fair hearing, and follow disciplinary steps correctly. Unfair dismissals can be referred to the CCMA. EISA Prep Q. You must be able to explain how grievance and disciplinary procedures protect employees and employers. Let's recap the key acts covered today. Minimum standards for working conditions. LRA, fair labor practices, and dispute resolution. 2.3. Transformation and equality. 4. Safety at work. Each of these acts has a specific role, and together they form a strong labor protection framework. Here's your activity. Imagine a company announces wage cuts without consultation. Which legislation applies? What steps should employees take? Who can support them? In groups, prepare a short role play that demonstrates how a union or the CCMA might become involved. This type of scenario mirrors what you might face in your EISA. EISA assessments often test your ability to link theory to workplace scenarios. Expect questions like, what is the purpose of the BCEA? What rights does the LRA protect? How do trade unions support employees? What steps are involved in a grievance process? Be specific in your answers, use legislation names and practical workplace applications. Today, we've covered the foundation of employment law in South Africa. We explored employee rights, employer and employee responsibilities, and the role of organized labor and legislation in ensuring fairness and safety. These concepts will appear directly in your EISA assessment. In the next session, we'll build on this by exploring how work is organized and how teams function effectively. Thank you for your participation. See you at the next session.